We didn't start this episode off to be about East Coast or West Coast rap. We really didn't. We were talking about hip hop, rap, reggaeton, reggae, and a lot more. And then it kind of went left. Join us today for a fascinating conversation on rap, hip hop, and all the ways it is and is not black music. Next up on Mama We Made It with DJ and Reg. My brother, good morning to you. How you living?
Well, brother, how you doing?
I'm all right, man. I'm all right. I'm all right. I'm waiting for spring to kick winter out of the paint. It is not being successful right now, so it's one of those dreary, deep winter days. I'm not really digging it right now.
So when does that happen these days in Portland?
You know, the days are longer. Like, we're getting more sunlight now, but it's a little chilly outside, and I need it to be about 15 degrees warmer than it currently is. Ain't no snow on the ground, so I'm not complaining, but we got teased by some early sunshine a couple weeks ago, and I would love for that to stick around, but I don't get the pick, so.
Okay, so I'm looking like maybe more April for me than trying to get up that way. But I do miss Portland, so I need to get back up there.
As you look out the window and see that big old orange thing called the sun.
Yeah, I have no complaints down here.
Dig it. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Mama We Made It with DJ and Reg. That's DJ. I'm Reg. Today, so we saw recently a couple things. One is we saw Bad Bunny at the Super Bowl doing bad things in a good way. But we also recently saw a conversation around the distinctions between hip hop and R&B, and KRS One, among other people, had some things to say about it that caught our eye and caught our attention. So we figured we'd unpack it today. So I share with the world what they may not know, which is among the many things that you are hyphenated with or for to your name, you're also DJ the Doc, and you are an active DJ who creates his own music and is a connoisseur and a history dude of music. What's your take on the distinction between hip hop and rap music?
Oh, we're going right up into it.
Before we get to reggaeton and reggae and all the other things and how culture moves around, what say you, good brother?
Wow. So I would say, simplistically put, I view hip hop as more of a cultural movement and rap as more of a subset or subgenre of music, right?
Yep.
In a nutshell.
Yep.
And because you are rapping doesn't mean necessarily you are of the culture.
So you can be rapping but not hip hopping?
You can be rapping but not hip hop. Doesn't make you a rabbit. And by the way, all for the Bad Bunny performance. I think all the craziness that's happened since then is just really wild to me. Even folks who don't know, Puerto Rico's part of the United States. We won't even go there.
Mm-hmm.
But so that's, in general, that's my distinction. Now, I think there's some other components to it to start to get into the historical, legacy aspects of it. But you agree? You have a different perspective?
No, I agree. So not to mix the conversation, so I'll come back to Bad Bunny in a second. Yes, I absolutely agree that hip hop lives as a distinct, I'll call it a subculture, because I do think that it sits under the umbrella of black music, however you want to define what that is, right? Whether that is African American, whether you want to call that the diaspora, if you want to go back to, in the beginning, there was the word and a beat, and the beat was good. Like, however far back you want to go, to me, hip hop sits underneath that umbrella. But it's a culture too in of itself, and I appreciate, the early dimensions we were taught were MCing, DJing, breakdancing, graffiti, a little bit of street fashion, knowledge. Like there were dimensions to it that were discernible in this thing that was growing up in and around, New York and the South Bronx and then Queens, like however culture evolves. But it comes out of a lived experience of a people trying to make the best way they can through a situation and finding ways to party anyway. So I think in that regard, I see the culture aspect of it. Rapping is MCing to me is kind of what that means in general terms. So I think that distinction makes perfect sense to me. What I'm excited about is, to be there at its birth, right? To be of the generation that watched it be born and to see hip hop grow up in a way that it is the art form of this current generation, almost to the extent like it ain't even mine no more, right? Like I have
Hmm.
distinct ownership over this culture being, 11 years old on the bus when Rapper's Delight comes out, and maybe that's not adjacent to New York, but I remember when, right? And so to think now how it's perceived as we old in this game and it ain't really ours no more is fascinating because we've been there from the very very beginning. So I love hip hop in that way. Rapping I think is a thing that to your point doesn't always have to be of hip hop and it can be used for a variety of different purposes. It is a technique more than anything else. But I think it is part and parcel of what makes hip hop hip hop.
I love what you said about this sort of amalgamation of the experiences, storytelling, graffiti, dance, fashion. That's all hip hop, man. And to see that evolve over the years and the decades, man, has been actually incredible to watch. And I've done that. Some you say I'm a practicing DJ. I practice in my office. I mean, you ain't nobody hiring me to go. I ain't
But
doing
to be clear, you don't
but
practice at being DJ. You DJ every day.
yeah, you do. I do. I DJ every day. But I have my little day in the sun purse, got my little club thing on in New York, little lounge thing on in New York
I've been
City.
there.
So
I was there.
I lay in that, you know, 5 weeks or whatever it was. But I'm gonna say something that might be controversial. I'm curious to get your take on this. And I had a bit of a I'll call it debate with a West Coast brother on this. We still don't really speak, but just whatever. We speak. We speak. This is years a young brother. I would say rap has taken on global proportions. To me, hip hop will always be about the East Coast.
Mm. That is
So
that's a bold
it is
proclamation.
bold. It is bold, and I'm standing on business. I I can't fight that because let me tell you why I say that. First, part of the reason I say that, again, I'm not. I think Ari Spears is a very talented dude, and I'm telling you where I'm going with this. Just please, just bear with me. Bear with me, okay? If you've ever seen him imitate a British hip hop cat, it's one of the funniest things I've ever seen. I'm not gonna go cancel culture on Aries, right? He's done some wild stuff, man. But to see him do that, man, I can't watch it sometimes. It's so funny. I'm gonna rewind back. When I think about true hip hop, there are really kind of five MCs or MC groups that come to mind for me.
Okay.
And I'm curious to maybe you could think about it if you haven't already while I'm giving mine. Because I don't
Yeah.
want to catch you off guard. But
Yeah.
I go, Schoolie D. What does it mean?
Sure.
Right? The hard, that's a Philly dude, right? Hard beat, really simple, with the hard lines coming forth. I go Public Enemy. Specifically that Welcome to the Terror Dome track. I love that one. I go Eric B and Rakim. Soul Sonic Force, and I'm gonna leave it there. I'm gonna leave your boy out of it.
We're just gonna
Okay.
talk Planet Rock and
We're
leave it
just
right
talking
there.
Planet Rock. That was hip hop.
Yeah.
And I say Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five too. I think they get left out of these conversations
Sure.
often. But Roxanne Shante.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, that's all East Coast. And it always will be. So any version of hip hop and where it emanated, etc. I don't go West Coast where your most popular artists are really about gangster rap. Let's face it. The Cat Paris who tried to be. Remember that Cat Paris from the Bay? He tried to be on the conscious rap, and they were like, "Yeah, now we trying to do this NWA thing." Right? But Paris was nice.
All right.
Light skinned cat kind of looked like Al B. Sure. So I'm gonna say that. Would you? How you feel about that hard statement that I just made?
I think it only works if we're talking about a timeline,
Yeah, got it. That's
right?
fair. That's fair.
It works if we're talking about foundation, but it's not the whole house,
Okay.
right? And I think that too much of, again, I'll say black music is rooted in our experience in the American South.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so there has to be a recognition that right now, and for the last 25 years easy, the South, Atlanta in particular, has had a lot of influence on what hip hop sounds like, feels like these days. And maybe that is more what rap feels like these days. I'm not sure there in terms of the distinction. In terms of the universality of hip hop, here's where it gets interesting for me. It is to recognize the origins story is to say New York for sure. To go to Tokyo or to go to Rio and see their variation of hip hop, up to and including black influences in the music that you may not know are black influences, but they know. I think it is fascinating to see it travel globally, but it's the same way R&B has traveled globally that has a decidedly American feel to it. The same way that, the blues is, an international genre that comes
Mm-hmm.
from a distinct set of experiences. I think hip hop is that way. And so I'm willing to say at its foundation, yeah, New York and the East Coast really are bedrock of it all. I don't know if they are singular to the definition of what it means to be hip hop.
This is really interesting conversation, like truly, because anything outside of that New York hip hop to me
Yep.
is rap. And
Interesting. Interesting.
I know that sounds crazy, man.
Interesting.
And I love Outkast. Is it hip hop to me? I'd have to really dissect that. But there's never a question around EPMD. There's never a question around, right? Because to me, and maybe it's personal, I don't want to lose what I feel like are the roots of hip hop. Y'all can play with rap, right? Y'all can do what you need to do. I can never sit here and tell you Eminem, to me, is not one of the greatest lyricists I've ever heard. He is. The cat can put it together. I remember the first time I heard Slim Shady, I played it about 15 times straight. Like, what is this cat doing, right?
But when's the last time you played it?
That 15th time, I think. when that came out in the car. Because then it was universal. To me, hip hop is not universal, man. And it never will be. And I know I'm standing hard on that. But and I love the way you laid it out, that amalgamation isn't something that can be duplicated in my eyes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And yeah, you can have versions of it.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I know you're not going to do it, but you got to hear Aries Spears. Because I think Aries would agree with us. Not that makes it right. I'm just telling you. I'm just telling you, man. I'm just telling you. You got to hear
Disclaimer for the audience. I had some questions about Aries Spears, and I'm going to
Oh,
leave it
we
right
both
there.
do. We both do. He's done some wild skits that today I still don't know how he's walking free, but
No, so I buy what you're saying, and I probably get to the same place a different pathway, and that's simply I believe that hip hop was, and will always be black music because I think it's born out of a unique set of circumstances. I think you
yes.
can use the frame of hip hop to tell common stories of your lived experience in your hood, your block, your community, and it's going to sound the same. There's going to be some rhythm structure that's the same, and you can play with it. But there's a reason why global hip hop sounds the way it sounds,
Mm-hmm.
right? There is an origin story there, and the creators know that when they get close to the sound they're going for, in their head
Mm-hmm.
is some black cats that are the measuring stick of does that sound authentic enough? We know that to be
Mm-hmm.
true. Here's the question for you, and let's pivot a little bit. I thought what Bad Bunny did was really compelling, right?
Yeah.
But before we get into that, reggaeton comes out of reggae and Espanol,
Mm-hmm.
which comes out of a heavy affinity for reggae, dancehall in particular, and all the kind of interplay of Caribbean roots, right? And it has become now its own global music powerhouse. It's good when you see cats like Bad Bunny reference the diaspora that is Latin culture, right? There's an Afro dimension to it that must be acknowledged and represented in terms of the overall culture. There's an indigenous language and influence there. So all the things come together, and I appreciated how you put that together. But I am curious how we feel about reggaeton by way of reggae and Espanol, whose roots are in reggae and dancehall. Is it similar to, rap vis-a-vis hip hop, or is it a different thing altogether?
So I personally don't listen to reggaeton. It's not a genre that I really dig a whole lot, but I see why people do. I see where the energy comes from, etc. And I think there's always going to be variations of things. So yeah, I think there's some similarities in that description of hip hop and rap. And it's not that I believe you can get versions of rap and versions of reggaeton, but there's only going to be one original, and that original to me is hip hop when we talk about hip hop and rap. So I think there's a similar connection as it relates to reggaeton. And it's not to demean any of the artists. You still need to be extremely talented.
Super. Yeah.
But you're not going to rebirth hip hop. I don't think you can rebirth it. You're going to get your versions of rap. And to me, when I think about reggaeton and I think about rap, they're individual stories coming out. The difference in hip hop to me is it's an amalgamation of many different stories. I don't think you can reproduce that. It at its roots. And it's East Coast. And there was a different journey for East Coast cats who looked like us than there was cats in Boston. Than there was for, and I'm saying Boston versus New York, versus growing up in LA. So I just don't think you can do it. And I this is on wax now. I'm going to get some YouTube comments. We know what's going to happen. But you know what? It's Reg and DJ's 25 minutes, and this is how I feel. So you can either respond or create a podcast where you talk about feeling differently. But I firmly believe this.
DJ and man, I go at MamaWeMadeIt.net.
So the sound you get from East Coast born and bred rap artists.
Yep.
You're not going to get from cats from other places. It's very unique. And not to say they aren't good, but I truly stand on that. And again, for me, I was in New York and Jersey as a kid.
Yeah.
And maybe experienced a little bit of it, but I just don't feel it. And I've lived a lot of different places. So.
No doubt. So I have a question for you, just to tease that out a little bit. James Brown could be sampled anywhere in the country. It's going to be James Brown sample. You think that is a uniquely East Coast sound?
Is James Brown being sampled? Not the music. Not the music. I don't think that's necessarily unique. Sampling James Brown isn't necessarily unique.
Right.
The stories told around it.
Okay.
And I also think, and I'm going to say this, I'm going to stand on this too, so come on with the comments. We are dealing now, as you extrapolate hip-hop into versions of rap, representations of illiteracy.
Ooh. Say more about that.
Okay. Who you want me to go to?
Representations of illiteracy. What does that mean?
Absolutely. Some of the artists we hear today, their stories are limited because their experiences and ability to express themselves are limited.
Are you tying that directly to things like mumble rap? Like what are you saying?
Could. I definitely could. Okay. And again, they say, hey, don't check my playlist because when I'm at the gym, you're gonna get all that. You're gonna get it all.
Fetty Wap is the homie. What you saying?
I don't know about him, but you gonna get Soso Campbell, and I'm not saying this cat's illiterate, right?
Right.
But your stories and storytelling opportunities become limited when your vocabulary is limited. I go back, man. You ain't gonna listen to Public Enemy and not get some vocab, right? You're gonna get it. So I think some of the delusion and some of my lack of affinity for it is also the expressive, artistic expression is a bit limited by, we got a lot of cats out here now, man, who I think are functionally illiterate.
Interesting.
Or limited.
Yep.
Like, when's the last time we heard a cat, like, man, let me rewind that. I haven't heard that word.
So here's what I find interesting, and I hear your point. I take your point. The reason why I asked about the James Brown example is obviously in the early days of hip hop, he was a frequently sampled artist, and obviously he's from the South. I believe he's from South Carolina, Georgia. No, he's from I think he's from Augusta. I think he's from Augusta, Georgia, and he's a Southern dude through and through, right? Like even when you hear him on wax, you hear that drippy soul sound of the South, but it was the horns and his instrumentation as much as anything, and the say it louds of it all that got sampled heavily. And I just think about how much the music and the art form of hip hop and rap is, as an MC version of it, is a continuation of our music and our sound. And so that in the great migration of it all, that sound has traveled through time, and I don't feel like it stopped in New York. I think it kept traveling sonically, and it got built on over time, and we still have this connected tissue. So I don't think, for me in that way, I don't think LA or West Coast or Chicago or the South isn't a key part of the hip hop. I think it's not necessarily part of the origin story in that way, but I think it's definitely a part of the culture. And when we think about fashion trends and the wordplay and a lot of, not even just whether anybody's illiterate or not, just the nomenclature and the slang has been heavily infused over time by a variety of regions. So I do think that there is this notion that Black folks are eternal and limitless, and we continue to flow. And wherever we flow, our flow goes with us. And I think hip hop follows in that tradition.
I think I struggle when I can get to at least 10 East Coast, probably New York based rap artists before I get to one in LA that even inspires me or I'm trying to listen to. And when I think about the top 2 or 3 from a West Coast perspective, and I'll go up to the Bay, I'll go top 5. What I'm not going to say is my intellect is stimulated. But when I think about hip hop, I do think there's some intellectual stimulation to happen.
Sure, wordplay matters.
It absolute special ed. I mean, come on, let's just keep going back.
Metaphors, and the pictures they paint.
Come on, man.
They matter.
Quit playing with people.
They matter.
It matters. And I listen to Roxanne Shante still, and it's just like, I'm like, girl, how'd you even learn how to do that? I'm never mesmerized when I hear, and again, have I listened to NWA? I absolutely have, right? But am I like, damn, easy? Are you serious? Like, run that back. And I ain't hating it. It's not a hating. But I can have my opinion, man. And I got it. I got it. And I'm going to keep it. I'm telling you, all y'all who about to send me some stuff,
Here's what I'll say. And I hear you. And it's not arguing opinions. Market development, I think, matters, right? So
yes, I agree.
In a world where the East Coast is older than the West Coast and the South is older than both of them in a lot of ways.
Yes.
The development of the storytelling can be different.
Yep.
Right? And there's no question that the West Coast is a derivation more than not of folks who moved there from another part of the country, if not of the world. Now they've been there 3, 4, 5 generations, so California's home. But 100 years ago, it was a thinner population compared to East or West, and so there is a timeline thing. So when we think about hip hop in the 80s that was coming out of the West Coast and into the 90s, it was still very much them telling their story of we here at a time when what was coming out of I-95 corridor was, we've been here for a minute, we've been on that, now we on something different. But I think a lot of it, is what we know. I think Kendrick is rapping and hip-hopping. I think Cube had his era of rapping and hip-hopping and doing both for the culture. But I think you're right. I don't have the affinity. I don't know if it doesn't mean because I haven't dug in the crates deep enough. I don't know. What I am fascinated by is the comparable journey across other genres and whether or not this is just par for the course, right? If you look at reggae going from, I don't know the particular order, but rock steady, roots, soca's in there. You find your way ultimately up to dancehall vibes, and it changes all again, and that ultimately leads to reggaeton, and now it's its own thing. I think K-pop is playing a whole nother variation of how we take a black art form and style and texture and turn it into a global phenomenon, but we know what they know, that's black music, and the fact that they struggle with people saying that is its own, indictment of what they doing over there, and I don't mess with it. But so all of it is just fascinating to me in terms of how much of it comes from a lived experience that I feel personally staked in, right? Like I feel some ownership. I did not grow up in the Bronx, but I feel like they were talking about a black experience that just happened to be in their neighborhood. It was the specific can be universal at the same time. And so I think that there is a specificity of that particular art form that is also universal to what it meant to be black, whether you were in Kalamazoo, Compton, or, South Bronx.
And again, like I said, I have my guilty pleasures when I'm in the gym trying to get myself inspired to go 5 days a week. But I also am always going to have an affinity for any narratives that push our people forward. And when I think about hip hop,
Yep.
I'm still hopeful that that's what that's doing.
Yes.
As I start to get out to, and I'm not going to quote any lyrics, but some of the other stuff that tends to be the center of LA rap that kind of birthed it.
Sure.
I don't see it moving our people forward. But I am going to say this cat Paris, man.
Okay.
I believe he was a Bay dude.
I have to check him out. Yeah,
that cat was. He ain't getting any play. They were like, yeah, okay, where's Too Short? When you need him.
Check. So here's the thing about the rap. To that point you just made, the thing about the rap of it all for me that drives me crazy as much as anything is the audience demographic. Mm-hmm. That which is the most unproductive tends to have a really large non-community following.
Mm-hmm.
And that influences a lot of systems in terms of what you end up with, what ends up getting put in front of you, whether it's radio, satellite radio, etc. A lot of this is don't be fooled by the garbage and the fast food of it all, because that's not really what they selling to you. You need not be eating that. There's good food out here. There's good hip hop content and culture out here that is, don't matter to some people the same way it matters to us.
And for our young folks, or younger folks, go back and listen to tracks like The Message, Grandmaster Flash, storytelling off the charts. And it's about the struggle of our folks that I think, to your point, Reg, regardless of where you are, you can relate to or have some respect and affinity for. So, yeah, this will probably be a little controversial. I'm cool with it. I still listen to Future. He's heavy in my So Campbell, heavy in my. But I think I view that through the lens of rap more than I do hip hop, and it's not to degrade that subgenre at all. It's just different.
I love the blues. The blues will always be from the South. It is okay for hip hop to always be from the East. It's okay. To the East, my brother. The East. To the East, my brother. To the East. However you get your beats, we love music. It heals. It reflects. It inspires. It shows us where we've been and where we're going. And I think having a soundtrack to your life is an important thing. However you build it, hope you build it with fun. This is Mama We Made It with DJ and Reg. That's DJ. Make sure you get the email right when you write him an email about this episode.
Here's your ticket.
I'm Reg. We do this thing once a week on Wednesdays. Check us out on YouTube, wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. Like us, subscribe to the show. Rate us and let us know what you think of the show. Drop some notes in the comments. We will see you next time. Peace and blessings.
See you soon.